Hello and welcome into the Female Revolution. This is a beautiful opportunity to get to spend some time with one of the poster women for being a revolutionary. This is Lauri Rollings. She is going to be our guest today. Lauri, say hey to everybody.
Hi.
And I am Jen. I am one of the podcast hosts, and this is my dear friend,
Sue, good morning. Hi, good afternoon, good evening.
wherever you are, exactly. And we're so excited to have you guys. Want to welcome you in. And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit with Lauri about who she is, where she's been. You all know that one of the things we really like doing this podcast is, honestly, it's a little bit novel in that we really want to encourage some action. So by today, my hope is at the end we can identify some things that we might encourage you to be doing. But let's start with just getting to know Lauri a wee bit. Lauri, do you want to start with the personal background, or would you like to start with your professional background, and then we can lean into how we know you? What would you like?
I'm going to start at birth because I think that's
everybody got 25 hours to lean in. Okay, all right.
Start. Our personal background is I went to high school with Jen and Sue, and I'm thrilled to be a guest on this podcast because I think it's awesome, and the two of you are amazing. So I'm really flattered that you asked me to be a guest.
Of course, of course. So, is there anything that I can't tell a story about you, Lauri? I don't think it's horribly inappropriate. She shrugs.
Please.
Hey, let me tell you. I want to identify right out the gate the moment that I knew that I had missed an opportunity in Lauri's world. Let's discuss. We're on a trip to Canada. Sue's on this trip. By the way, all three of us go on this trip. Let's just talk about, so it's a choir/band trip to
handbells. I was there for handbells.
Choir. Hey, I wish I'd done handbells. They were so pretty. But anyway, I wasn't cool enough to do handbells. But so we go on this trip, and it's bus, right? It's high school students in a bus for a day and a half just on a travel.
Is that all it was? I thought it was a month.
It felt like forever. Let's discuss. But what's great is at some point, now I want to just say, again, Lauri will probably but Lauri was the valedictorian in our class. Lauri's shit, look at her eye roll. If you're not watching, we really should watch the video on this one. Gives us a big eye roll. Seriously, one of the smartest people I've actually ever met. Okay.
That's very nice.
And so she feels not in my league. Okay. I'm going to be real. As a friend, she's probably oh, Jen pats my head, which she would never do, by the way, 'cause she's way fucking cooler than that. But I'm just saying, right? We're on this trip, and I don't even know how this comes to pass. She pulls out a deck of cards with nude men on them. And all I know in that moment was
those were your cards?
They're a deck of cards with it's nude men. And all I'm thinking is, here she's been my whole fucking 4 years, and I was she should have been my friend the whole time.
They were not only nude, they had gigantic erect penises, and some of them were wearing tube socks because they were those photos were taken in the 70s. What happened was,
were they wearing these socks on their feet?
Oh yeah, they were wearing them on their feet.
Just checking.
So they were naked with erect cocks and tube socks. Not all of them, but many of them had tube socks. What happened was, we were in Niagara Falls, and I wandered into a gift shop, and I was probably with Gary DeWitt, and who else would have been on the trip? I can't remember. Aaron Wardell maybe was on that trip.
Mm-hmm.
Those two were two of my best friends in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was with guys, and we're just rolling around the gift shop, and it's one of those novelty gift shops, like a tacky gift shop that you would see in Wisconsin Dells.
Yes.
And I found this deck of cards, and I'm like, these are awesome. I need to get these. And then we're going to play euchre with them on the bus. So yeah, that's true. I bought those cards in Wisconsin Dells, and then I took them out at Thanksgiving that year in front of my cousin, who's 8 years younger than I am. So he would have been I don't know, 6, 8 at the time. We're just dealing out the cards at the table. My uncle was very upset.
He's very upset with you. Yeah. See, but let's get right out the gate. Woman does not give a fuck. Can I tell you? This is what I'm saying, though. In terms of rebellious, revolutionary energy, Lauri has got it all the live long. Like, I'm not kidding. You have to hang out with her because it's a real fucking thing. Here's what else is cool. She's going to tell you in a minute about how awesome sauce she is legitimately, right? In her very legal background and things like that. But also, I'm going to tell you this. She also does comedy on the side, just for fucking fun, shits and giggles. And she's freaking hilarious. So to me, what I love about you, Lauri, is that you really harness the energy of the people that I love to serve and who I really want to like get in front of the world and amplify what you bring because you just harness revolutionary energy in the most brilliant way. You're so professional, you're so bright, you're fucking hilarious, you're unfiltered a lot, which I literally love that. I mean, that's that irreverent, like where you'll just say it like it is, to me, so refreshing. And so I think because you embody so many of these leadership kind of qualities and the things that I think we really want women to lean into, that's why we are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit now. We'll lean back. We're going to come back to the funny shit where you're not going to escape us, but I want to give Lauri an opportunity to talk about some of the really cool freaking magic she's created in the world through her legal journey as a lawyer. So tell us about a little bit about your background, your bio. Again, it doesn't have to be a curriculum vitae, which I'm sure you'd rather not give us anyway, but I just want for everybody that's listening to kind of get the gist of who you are, where you've been, and then really what you've recently been creating in your own business.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're
So I went to high school at Edgewood High School of the Sacred Heart, which is a Catholic high school, which really, throws into sharp relief those erect penis playing cards that I brought onto the bus.
Yes.
After high school, I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I majored in journalism. I was a newspaper reporter for about a year in the late 90s before I realized computers are going to kill newspapers, so I better go to graduate school. So I went to law school. I went to Stanford Law School. I graduated in 2001. I practiced law for roughly 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
doing a mix of different things, primarily commercial litigation. Um, and at one point, I went in-house to a public utility here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is where I live now, the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District, which really lived up to its name in terms of the
I was like,
atmosphere.
I'll leave the joke there.
Yeah, in terms of the work environment. Did a brief in-house stint at Johnson Controls after that. And then serendipitously, an engineer that I worked with at the sewerage district, his brother-in-law was also a lawyer, and he had left, actively practicing law to become the executive director of a trade association of construction contractors that do plumbing and mechanical and piping work.
Mhm.
And he was getting ready to retire. And he was looking for someone to help him with labor negotiations that summer and then ultimately to take over for him as executive director. So his brother-in-law connected us and I went to work for him, eventually became the executive director of that association in Milwaukee. I did that for 7 years and then I moved to Portland to run a sister association out there for 3 years. And after 10 years of running associations, I finally got the courage to start my own business, which is something I had always wanted to do. So about 3 years ago, I started a consulting business doing leadership development and communications training and other kinds of respectful workplace training, anti-harassment training, primarily for the construction industry.
Mhm.
Which is what I do now because I saw there was a huge need for people to learn how to treat each other with respect in the construction industry because it doesn't happen very often and it drives really
Mhm.
good, talented people out of the industry. So that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years.
That's awesome. So here's what I think is really cool. When Lauri and I had a brief chat, we did a check-in before we did the podcast recording today, and she said what happened, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so if I butcher any of this, please feel free to correct me. But what I really heard you say was you started having women that would come up to you and approach you. So what's interesting is one woman, Lauri becomes probably kind of a commodity, right, in the construction industry because women don't tend to be as prevalent in the construction industry at all. And so I think it's really neat that you're there first. But then secondarily, you sort of become this like superhero for other women to like help them find their voices, right? And I know you didn't mean to like throw a cape on. I get it. Like I know your soul. So listen, when I'm saying all this, it's my projection because Lauri is one of the most down to earth, kind people you'll ever meet in your life. And so I know I'm going to make her deeply uncomfortable when I'm saying this shit. But I really also want to say this is what this show is about is being unapologetic for being fucking awesome. That to me, right? Like instead of being small and like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, you know, like that, like we don't need any more of that. Like, right, we need to celebrate women. So to me, what I thought was really cool was your purpose started calling for you. So you got on this track, and this is the way that purpose and our life show up, right? Is that the right opportunities and the things that sometimes we're picking it, and sometimes we sort of get like pivoted for on our own axis, and then we'll end up somewhere kind of in a little bit different realm, but all the while being prepared for the next thing that we're really going to do and like pour our light and energy into. So that is where I think is such a magical piece for you is the fact that you really listened. Because I think there are a lot of times where we'll get cues and we're kind of like, oh, nah, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably not what it, no, I'm probably misreading that. We're quick to kind of turn off our intuition and like, nah, that's not, you know, I think it's so freaking cool that for you to be like, yep, I'm hearing these women and I'm realizing and recognizing that there needs to be more work here and to just lean into that. That's right. Lauri is doing revolutionary work and revolutionizing women's experience in construction, which I think is so cool. And I'm sure you're touching a lot of other people's lives as well, right? Not just women, but I do think it's so potent to say like this to me, this is what we need is more women leaders helping other women in industries where we might not be as prevalent, right? Like elevating that, shifting that narrative as well for everyone. So I freaking love that. What do you think, Lauri? So just a question, and then like we can just dialogue about this for a moment, but what do you think some of the issues women are facing right now? Like what is the landscape? Give us kind of, and if you ever see me looking down, I'll be taking notes and stuff because I love to circle back. And later we're going to give everybody some action items because we want people to like move, right? We want momentum. We don't want to just talk about it. But what do you think the issues are? What are you seeing? What have you experienced? And again, I mean, whatever you feel comfortable sharing with us, but I would just love to have that really frank dialogue about like, what have you experienced and how can we be continuing to talk about those things in places like these podcasts to continue to up level all of us and support us in the journey?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're talking about the construction industry specifically, you hit on this really well, Jen. Women are severely underrepresented in that industry. So industry-wide, only 10% of the people who work in construction are female, and that includes people who work in the office doing things like bookkeeping or dispatch.
Dang.
If we're talking about actual construction workers in the field, they only make up 4% of the population. So there's a representation problem.
Right.
Because if people don't see themselves represented in a profession, they just automatically assume that I don't belong there. It's not open to me. In addition to being a lack of representation, there's, I guess kind of a lack of mentorship then too, because most of the time female trades workers are the only female on their job sites because they only make up 4% of the entire population.
Wow.
And so many women will go throughout their entire career without ever working on a job site with another woman. Or occasionally they will, like once every few years. But it will often be a woman that's not of their own trade. So you might be a female plumber and there might be a female carpenter on your job site.
Right.
That's the only other woman you're seen on a job site.
Right. Yeah.
And so the lack of representation is an issue because it leads people to believe that women don't belong in construction, that they're not capable of doing construction trade work, which could not be further from the truth.
Right.
So that's part of it. part of it is just not having a built-in network of being able to go, hey, Jen, I'm having my period. Do you have a tampon? I forgot to bring a
That's
tampon. Or like I'm having my period, but the only restroom available on this job site is a filthy, disgusting porta potty where men don't even bother to try to hit the target. Like, how am I supposed to?
gross. Yeah,
Yeah, and so that's a real issue.
for
Like,
sure.
the unsanitary conditions on job sites for women to be able to change menstrual products,
Hmm.
or not having somewhere to breastfeed if they are a woman with a small child. So that lack of representation, just in terms of policy making, is an issue too, because if you've never experienced having to change a tampon or breastfeed because you're a man, you've just never even thought about
Right.
that, the
Right.
logistics of it, like
Sure.
something we need to provide. So,
Sure.
there's been a lot of momentum, I would say, in the last 10 to 15 years, trying to shine a spotlight on those issues. And there are some amazing women who are trades workers from around North America who started organizing an event called Tradeswomen Build Nations,
Okay.
which started out as a room of like maybe 10 to 20 tradeswomen in a conference room in a hotel in
Wow.
California
Right.
a few years ago.
Right.
And last fall, there were 5,000
Oh.
tradeswomen.
Ah, that's
It was
awesome.
amazing from all
That's
over North
so
America.
cool. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and it's like the most inspiring conference convention of any kind that I ever go to, because usually it's just kind of like, you're there, you go to some sessions, whatever. But like this was a group of women, intentionally getting together to support each other, to figure out ways that they can support each other all around the country, even
Hmm.
if they don't see each other on a day-to-day basis, just
Right.
coming together to talk about their common issues and then figure out ways that they can support each other.
Right.
So there's some organic stuff happening. Um, and I am just trying to bring my background, as an attorney and a journalist,
Yeah.
to into that movement to try and help in any way that I can.
Yeah. I mean, that's just so brilliant, though. I think that's so amazing. And when you're talking about that, so these women are commonly very underrepresented, lack of mentorship, like you said, or other women, no networking. And so to me, when you said that no other women too, I mean, which is, I mean, Captain, when you start talking about the low, low, low percentage of it, what's fascinating to me is like women are meant to be a we. Like actually our energy and like the way that we are wired, we're actually meant to be in community. So think about, I mean, I know that sounds like, okay, so somebody's listening are like, okay, she had to go take it to a woo place. But like the truth is like, if you just even, but think about this, right? I'm not even just talking in this very like spiritual way entirely. That would be really hard. It would be hard not to have like a sisterhood of some kind. Like even in really shitty jobs that I've had, and I've had some doozies, let me tell you something. Oh my God. I have some great stories, but like the way I survived it was by having other women. I mean,
Mhm.
1000%. If you've ever had a shitty job and you know what I'm talking about, and it isn't just women, and like day treatment, I had both men and women, thank God, because that was really freaking hard to do. The level of stress in it was so high, it was ridiculous. So you need each other. And that would be so, I mean, it's just something that honestly, like listening to you talk about it today, Lori, was the first time I was like, oh my God, that would
Mhm.
be so fucking lonely and isolating.
Yeah.
And not that the men are like, there's no intention behind it, right? It's the
Right.
dynamic, but this is why we need it to shift. So I
Mhm.
think that's so huge because women deserve to be supported, right? And that to me, it's like that's what I'm all about. Is like just how can we support women living into their best version of who they want to be.
Mhm.
So I love that. So what would you say are, and thank you for that. What would you say are some things that you think women are facing today? Like, what do you think? So if we take, so there's this, you have one big scope over your profession and how you're supporting women. And then what do you think you've experienced, or what do you think some of the hot kind of areas for women you see right now and you're experiencing that you maybe are thinking on working in, things like that. It's always nice to kind of hear from other women and like how you're showing up to your own revolution and what you're experiencing.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll start with the construction industry and then kind of extrapolate from there,
Yeah.
society wide. In construction, sexual harassment or sex-based harassment remains an enormous problem. Um, the Institute for Women's Policy Research released a study about 3 years ago in which almost half of the women they surveyed said that they've considered leaving the construction industry because of sex-based harassment.
Hmm.
So, it's sometimes very overt. Women get raped on job sites. Once is too often, but it happens.
Hmm.
It happened just in the last few weeks, actually, on a job
Oh.
site in Minnesota. I was reading about it in the paper. Women have been murdered on job sites by men who stalk them. Um, I personally know women who have been grabbed, who have been groped, who have been followed around, um, had like inappropriate photographs of naked men with their heads cut off, like left in their work area.
Oh.
Um, so that's the like overtly sexual activity based part of it. But then there's the more subtle, just assuming that you aren't able to do the job because you're a woman. So
Right. Sure.
a lot of women will get into the trades, but they will be assigned to menial tasks either because of the assumption that they're not capable
Hmm.
of lifting, which is a common one. I hear a lot. People say, well, women just aren't as strong as men. That's not true. There are actually men my size who are very, very successful construction workers.
Hmm.
Um, People come in all shapes and sizes. Somebody who looks like me can actually lift quite a bit because I'm used to
Right.
lifting a child over my head.
Right.
Um,
A pound is a pound is a pound. It's not different if you're a woman versus if you're a man. A
Oh,
pound
it's
is a
heavier for
pound.
women.
right.
Right.
And also in the construction industry, over time, they've developed safe lifting techniques and equipment that can be used
Right.
in place of brute force because of the need to protect everyone, men and women, from being injured.
Hmm.
And so, the idea that you have to be a gigantic,
Yeah.
muscle bound person to
Early.
be a
Yeah.
successful construction worker is just antiquated.
Right.
Um, there also is the assumption that women aren't going to be there for the long term because they're going to have kids and they're going to drop out. So they won't be offered overtime because of the assumption that we have kids at home. So you don't want overtime without being asked. I've had several women tell me that they will show up on the job site and have a man ask them, "Are you just here to find a husband?" So just kind
Why?
of and I mean, the thing about that kind of stuff is that it's almost refreshing that it's so overt in the
That's true
construction
too.
industry because
Get that?
I don't know about the two of you, but I definitely like looking back over the course of my career in the white collar world, like I definitely experienced some stuff where looking back I'm like, did they say that because I was a woman? Or, was I not given that opportunity because I was a woman? And did they
Yep.
ask me that question in my job interview because I was a woman?
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not as in your face
Yeah.
because people in white collar professions have been given harassment training, you
Right.
know,
Exactly.
and most people in construction have not.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's like the 50s out there still,
Mhm.
for many women
Why
working
is
in the field.
that? I mean, I know that that is a really big, huge, broad question, but
Hmm.
I just don't understand. Is it because they think something's being taken away from? And this is not, again, we always say this, like not a blanket statement about men in general, but
Mhm.
maybe just about humanness. Is it a job site thing? Are you feeling protective of your job as a human, not just a man?
You know,
Um, or is it that there's a threat that this whole concept of women being lesser than men has been embedded in their lives, and now it's being challenged, and now they have to work a little harder,
Well,
maybe?
and I want to hear from Lauri, but I mean, I want to say really quickly before Lauri speaks is like, if we've been conditioned to be small,
Mm-hmm.
everyone else has been conditioned that we're
Conditioned.
small.
Right.
So right, because you and I talk a lot about conditioning and deconditioning people and like all the work that we have to do around that. So I do think there's a piece of that that is so prevalent. And that
Mm-hmm.
makes me sad because we're talking about this, but is anybody talking about it
Yeah,
on the masculine side? Is
exactly.
anybody saying, right? And this is not me poking a finger or being rude or like I'm not trying to be shitty, but like, are they having this dialogue? Like, listen, guys, we've all been told this is what women look and should be like. And that's wholly inaccurate. So people like Lauri, that's part of what Lauri's doing, right? In your own right. Like you're going into
Mm-hmm.
places and helping people take that apart, unravel that, and make better sense of it and
It's like
start to have
you're like resetting bones that have been damaged for so long,
Exactly.
and
That's
it
well
hurts.
said. It's well, exactly. So, Lori, what are your thoughts? Because I just wanted to throw the conditioning because I want
Yeah.
to honor that, like, we talk a lot, Lori, like, we don't man bash in here. Like, that's not, we're both in
Mhm.
very beautiful relationships. I know you're in one. So, like, to me, it's like, that's not the point of us coming in here. But, like, what is your experience? What do you think about why this is going on? What are your thoughts?
I think those are really excellent questions, and I can't say for sure. I can throw out some theories. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think every profession at some point was male dominated because we women weren't allowed to have jobs outside the home for the longest
Right.
time, right? You know, like our choices were to be moms or school teachers or
Mm-hmm.
nurses. Um, and that was it. And so, I mean, any woman going into breaking ground in a profession that had been traditionally dominated by men faced those kind of things. You know, like I don't know if you saw the biopic about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she faced the same kind of crap when she went to
Of
Yeah.
course she
Harvard Law
did.
School.
Of
You know,
course
Yeah.
she
like
did.
there's a scene in that movie where she's the dean of Harvard Law School invited all the women in her class, which was the first class that had admitted women to Harvard Law School, to a dinner, and she thought it was like going to be this celebratory thing, and then he asked all the women at the table to go around and explain why they thought it was okay for them to have taken a man's spot in the class at Harvard Law School. So like she had to put up with that shit in the
Mhm.
50s when she was in
Of
law school.
course.
So I don't think construction is necessarily any different from any other profession. I
Yeah.
think it's just women have not been in it in they're still not in it in critical mass for that kind of stuff to go underground.
Hmm.
And I think part of it is because it's a rough and tumble industry. There's an assumption that you have to be a big burly guy to get into
Hmm.
it. Um, it's also a profession that's been handed down through generations of families. That's typically how people get into it.
Sure.
Most of the tradespeople I know got into it because their grandpa and their great grandpa and their dad and all their uncles were carpenters or electricians or steam fitters or plumbers. So it's not a profession that has historically gone out to like recruit a wider net of people
Right.
into it.
Hmm.
It doesn't. It's like the best kept secret in terms of a family sustaining profession. Like people
Hmm.
don't know how well construction trades careers pay.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think people naturally just don't even think about it as a career path
Sure.
because we've been conditioned for the last three generations at least that the only path to success is to go to college. So a lot of women don't even see it as a career path. And so
Hmm.
you got few women in it.
Hmm.
And it just, I think you have to have a critical mass of women in a profession before that stuff starts to change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But even in law, I definitely experienced sexism looking back. That
Hmm.
wasn't overt, but when I look back, I'm like, oh, even though half of the women in my law school class I mean, half of the people in my law school class were women. Like half of the people who started at a law firm with me were women. Like
Yep.
there was still subtle assumptions that we were
Yeah.
going to get, we were going to get pregnant and then leave. So,
Yep, exactly. Exactly. It's interesting, and then we'll move on, but this is a great point to, I think, follow up on what you're getting at. So it's fascinating. My daughter was really strongly considering going into medicine. And that was not, she's an only child, so it feels so cliche. She was gonna go into, but whatever. This was really a passion of hers. And all the homework she did, this kid was coming home, and when I tell you she was having existential dread, and I'm actually not exaggerating. Now, Chloe's like a 90-year-old in a 20-something-year-old body. She's a very old soul, but like she would come home and we would have deep, big conversations. I had sticky notes all over our dining room, pros and cons. And here's what I was hearing from my daughter, and I've said this in other podcasts, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time, but I think this is such a piggyback on what you're saying. She's 19 years old, hearing all of the struggles and challenges that women face in medicine.
mhm.
She's like, so if I go do this, mom, if I have any mental health crisis of any kind, they don't care about that. I'm going to be in residency for how many years? I get paid shit to be there. I work insurmountable, unforgivable hours. Like when she's listing, and then and now Chloe's smart, so she researches, right? So now she's reading about all these women that have been doing, medicine, and she loves it. I mean, when I tell you, it is so her passion, it's so part of her purpose. But she was like, I don't want to live my entire life never seeing my children, feeling this horrendous pressure to both be there if I have kids. She doesn't even know she wants children. So think about this. She's having to have existential dialogue in her mind to make decisions at 19 and 20 for the rest of her life. That is batshit to me. Like something is so fucking broken. If a young woman who, and honestly, and so she's going to go to school to be a PA, which is awesome. That is no, but how sad that we have generations of women coming up right now that go, I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want zero balance. I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't want the pressure. And there's already enough pressure on women to juggle all the areas of our life. You know what I mean? So it's just really horrible to watch her go through this and think, how fucked up is our culture that our 19-year-old, they're still children. And I don't mean that as a condescension. I worked with teens and young adults for like my entire career. But they're still figuring shit out. To be that old and have to sit with that kind of lifelong decision making is broken.
My roommate from college made the exact same decision for the exact same reasons.
Really?
And when she went, because she got engaged when we were seniors, and she was going to go to medical school. I was actually pre-med too. I chose not to pursue it for different reasons, mostly because I don't know. I also was having existential dread, but I didn't connect it to being a woman. I just connected it to like the whole right side of my brain is dying.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very right brain person and it was very left brain stuff. And I'm just but my roommate from college, she was going to go to med school. She got engaged when we were seniors. She went in to tell her advisor, I've decided I'm not going to go to medical school. I'm going to be a PA instead. And she was wearing her engagement ring, but she hadn't told her advisor, who was a woman, that was why she was making the decision. And her advisor said, is this decision related to that ring on your finger? And my roommate was very offended by that. Which, again, what a horrible position for her to be in, though, right? Because I'm sure that was the same calculus. Like, I want to have kids. I want to be home with my kids. I want to see my kids. But honestly, that's a shitty position to put anyone in, men or women.
It doesn't matter. Absolutely.
Like, there's got to be a better way to educate doctors.
1,000%.
Because they make them work 36-hour shifts, which makes no sense to me.
No.
Like, if anybody should know about how damaging and dangerous sleep deprivation is for
wellness.
They put restrictions on truck drivers now. They're not doing that for doctors.
Yeah, you're like, no, but go ahead and cut into me. Feel fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can I have you at the beginning of your shift, please? Can I put my request in?
there's a whole culture of hazing associated with it.
Yeah,
Right.
It's terrible for everyone.
it is. It
Um,
is. It is. Absolutely.
I was reading an article like maybe 6 months ago about a medical resident who's a male who took his own life because of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Just
Oh
because
Yep.
of
my God.
the intense pressure,
It's crazy.
the
It's
crazy
crazy. It's
hours.
crazy. It's crazy for anyone. And it just, to me, I really do appreciate watching Chloe's struggle. I'm so sad for her, but I'm also like very intensely proud that she took the time and energy to like, okay, this keeps coming up for me. I have to listen to this inkling
Mhm.
that I'm nervous that this is not going to serve me long term. So I'm really proud, but it just makes me sad that she was like, what if I want children? How am
Mhm.
I going to do that? I'll never see my partner. I will miss
Mhm.
holidays. I want to serve the people I want to serve, but also like I'm super passionate about having a life outside of my work. And to
Mhm.
me, that bandwidth is huge for somebody who's 20 years old to be like, I'm going to
Right.
want balance. I'm like, that she's even thinking about that. I can guarantee you I didn't think shit about that when I was her age at all. Like balance schmalance. Like I didn't think about that. So amen. But it's just fascinating to me how these things show up. And it shouldn't be there for anyone. It's not that I'm
Mhm.
saying it should be there for men or women. I just think it is fascinating that there is a different layer for women that I think that they are thinking through, which is really family and
Mhm.
marriage and kids and balance, right? And like I just know I'm gonna feel like I'm juggling all these things. I think we all feel that way. But like there are some extra things that I do think kind of fall more to women at this point in time. And that was just really hard to watch.
Mhm.
But it is a dialogue we need to be talking about in order to move that, in order to move the needle. We have to be having narrative like this, like talking through like this is really messed up, like something's broken, right? In the construction system, something needs to be mended together, and this is the same for I think all of our systems, right? So Lauri, what do you think a revolutionary is? How would you define what is a female revolutionary? Because I like love getting like the qualities that people kind of bring in because I know I have my set, but like I love to build on that from what other women see. So what do you think a revolutionary is?
That's a really good question. I mean, I guess I would say it's someone who is true to herself,
Yes.
regardless of what society tells us we should
Mhm.
be doing or
Mhm.
how we should be behaving. And,
Yep.
this is so funny to me, Jen, because when we were doing kind of our prep session before we started recording, when we were chatting last week,
Mhm.
you said something to me that I found really surprising, which was, you've
So
always
scared.
been, no, you said you've always been a rebel. And I was like, really? Like, I have never thought of myself as a rebel.
Mhm.
I just behave the way I'm wired to behave. And I never got the memo that, like, I was not supposed to raise my hand in class when I knew the answer, or to speak up for myself, or to swear, or to stand up for other people when people were being treated like shit.
That's you. And what I'm saying is for you, it is so innate. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny because when I said that, and I meant every word I said to you, and I really do see you that way because as I look back in time, I know for myself, I can look and see all the places I made myself smaller and I made myself more digestible. I had the inner rebel. The inner rebel was like this. No shit. I mean, I have an attitude the size of fucking Texas. Okay, so she was in there. She just wasn't out much. Okay, she didn't have a lot of like airtime. So to me, when I see women who can harness that very early, I'm always like, that's fucking awesome. How do we get more women, right? That's part of my legacy that I want to like invest my time and energy in. It's my missions. Like, how do we pass this along to younger women so that we have more Lori-like young women that aren't thinking, oh, I better not intimidate this guy I want to date because what if he doesn't want to like me because I'm smart? And Chloe runs into that. She
Oh
goes,
yeah.
Mom, I don't know if I'll ever find a partner because I don't know if anybody can handle that I want to be this dedicated to a job.
Oh yeah, my mom used to tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're too intimidating. You'll never find a husband.
Yeah.
Like, a plumber is not going to want to marry you." She actually
Mhm.
said that, like, because, and I'm just like, so people were trying to send me the memo. You know, it's just my inbox just kept rejecting it
Yeah,
for
but I
some
love
reason.
that about you. I'm like, how the hell? I'm like, can we just harness that shit? Like that's, and so when I said it to you, that is what I'm saying, that even those nudie cards, you're just, but I love it. So listen, I know it's fucking funny and it is, and it was so funny at the time because I was like, what? Like I like loved her rebel soul. But what I'm going to say is, we need more of that. We need more of the women that are like, I'm not going to worry about what he or she may think about me if I look too smart, right? I don't care what their orientation is, right? We don't want to play small so someone else is more comfortable. I don't want to give the role to so and so in a play or a theater production or a musical or anything because well, they need it more than I do. Like we need like how do we shift this needle? How do we move that mark? Because I really do think we need to be better. And I think that just really helping women harness their magic, right? Like what is magical about who you are? And like, I think you did a great job of loving that and then respecting it, which I mean, I could see the things that were good in me, but I don't think I respected them. I don't think I respected myself. So what do you think about your, I don't want to like, cause I know that that's how I kind of saw Lauri's journey. What do you think about yours as like youth? How did you feel about that?
So here's the
About
story. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, Lori, go ahead.
So I've been saving this story for you, Jen, for decades for this podcast because it's so funny that you were like, I missed an opportunity to get to know Lauri. I feel the same way about you because when we were in high school, you were always so nice to me, like so kind to me, and
Oh,
I did not have the self-respect to be like to just let that in, because I was like, why would someone like Jen want to be friends with me? Like, she's pretty, she's
oh,
blonde, she's a cheerleader,
oh my
she has a
God.
boyfriend. Like, why would she want to hang out with me? And
Because you're fucking awesome. That's
so,
why.
like society had done a number on both of us, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I get that.
that, like and I've paid dearly for being who I am, right?
I get
Like
that too.
you don't like people aren't just like, "Oh, that's cool." Like my own family it
Yeah.
was always like, "You're not ladylike. What the
Oh
hell's
yeah.
wrong with
Oh
you?"
sure.
My older brother would be
Yeah.
like, "I'm the one who got all the estrogen in this family." You know? And like
Oh Phil.
so beginning with your own family and then
Yeah.
every workplace you ever
Yeah.
go in college, so like uh I just some of this really sexist remarks that I would hear from other students. So when I was in college, a friend of mine who was a male friend, we both got elected to Phi Beta Kappa at the same time. And he's like, well, they probably just let you in because you're a woman.
Uh-huh.
What's your GPA? And I said, it's 4.0. And he was like, oh, because his GPA was not 4.0 and he still got in. And then another time I was in law school and I used to go out salsa dancing with my good
Of
friend
course you
James
did.
Of
all the
course
time.
you did.
Instead of doing homework, we would be out salsa dancing every night. And I was dancing with some guy in a club um, in Palo Alto. And he said, oh, what do you do? And I said, I'm a student at Stanford Law School. And he said, oh, your dad must be really rich.
Oh my God.
And I just looked at him and he's like, and then he waited a couple of beats and he's like, or you could be really smart.
Oh shit. Good. At
Wow.
least you got it on multiple choice point B. I mean, hell yeah. Dad's
So, I
rich
mean,
or B, you might be smart.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, we're damned if we do and
We're
damned if we
damned if we
don't.
don't. It's
Yeah.
so
Right?
true.
Like if you conform to the stereotypical female, whatever, what's expected of you, part of you dies, right? But if you
Agreed.
try to be who you are, people,
Also, a part of you kind of
Yeah,
died.
part of you
No
yeah,
dies.
joke.
people,
No
people,
joke. Yeah,
constantly criticizing you,
absolutely.
constantly telling you you're too aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's easy to take either path.
No, it's not. It's all, I think it's all work. I think it's a kind of work. And your humor, like if it, so she'll, Lori will do some comedy shows and like she'll talk about tampons, women parts. I mean, like, which I love, like, no joke. To me, it's so, and the room that she's talking to is male and female. It's not, right? So you
Mhm.
can see how well she's represented herself in this world because her group, her community is everyone. And you feel that. But you're not afraid. And that to me, right? Like, so when we're going to talk about this, there is a rebel spirit in you, but also I think that revolutionaries are, well, let me say this. I was going to say not afraid. That's bullshit. You're afraid, but you do it anyway.
That's
That's what
true.
revolutionary is, because I think
Mhm.
that's a lie to say we're not scared to do it sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, I think we can be scared. And I think like Sue has done some theater. I know she did a show this year in the fall.
Awesome.
And like, was she afraid? Maybe not, but was she maybe a little nervous to get back in the swing? Was she, but like, did she do it anyway?
Mhm.
Yes. Right. So I think that's that thing is like, can I lean in anyway, even when I'm being told or when the messaging is like, maybe you don't fit here, or maybe it's too late, or maybe that's not the right blah, 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 for you, whatever the hell the message is. I love when we do it anyway. Sue, what were you going to say about what a revolutionary is? Like, and like your experience of like youth, because I thought going back was really interesting. Like Lauri's experience of feeling like she knew who she was. She mostly, I mean, I'm sure that there was some, right? Because that's like we're still figuring things out when we're young adults. But like she kind of felt like, no, this is like who I am, and take me or leave me. That was not my journey. I definitely played small. I definitely made myself digestible for people. What was your experience? I mean, I want you to have a chance to say your experience as well.
I mean, there's not enough time in the world, but there's
I spit out my water
it's
and myself.
interesting. So I first of all, going back to Lauri and how you kind of came to where you're at today, and your evolution since high school and everything else. It's funny, you took the path that I wanted to take. You did journalism, you did law, you went to UW-Madison, all the things I wanted to do, but it was you're not quite good enough for that. So let's send you to UW Whitewater. And yeah, sorry, UW Whitewater, but it wasn't where I wanted to be, but it was the path of least resistance.
Wait, can I pause 1 second? Is Whitewater? No, it's Platteville. What's the one that the men are men, but the women are too? It's
I
horrible.
don't
Have you
know.
heard that? No, I'm not shitting
No, I
you.
haven't heard that.
There's one of the UW systems, and it's almost all men, and that's why they say it, because it's so
Oh,
masculine heavy.
Okay.
They're not being as dicks as it sounds, but the joke, and I think it was Platteville or something, and they were like, where the
Okay.
men are men and the women are too.
Oh
oh,
my God,
wow.
that's funny.
So
That's
I was like, nope,
funny.
it's not Whitewater. It was Platteville. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
Whitewater was just it was far enough away from, like, I wanted to do UW-Madison because
Yeah.
I could be close enough to home, because I was a mama's girl, but unfortunately I was a mama's girl for all the wrong reasons. And it was, like I said, it was like the path of least resistance. My mom wanted me to go to college, and I had to get the grades to be able to go to college. But I don't know why we just kind of like did the UW Whitewater thing. I originally wanted to go to vet school, but it turns out, as my mother told me, I wasn't smart enough in science and math to be able to go to vet school. And like, there was no, like, my boyfriend always says too, he's like, why didn't she help you? Why didn't she get you a tutor? What? Because I mean, I dragged my mom to open houses at UW Madison Vet School every single year
Wow.
because
I
I
didn't know
wanted to go to
that.
vet school. Like, yeah, I mean,
know
it was
that.
like a big thing for me. And I was brave, and I was talking to the people who were at the tables, and I was asking them all the questions, and I was like doing all the things. And after a while, she's like, maybe you should just go into writing. You're really good at writing, so you should go into writing. And so I'm like, okay. And that's also kind of the reason I went to Edgewood, is because she came to me and she was just like, do you want to go to Edgewood? And I'm like, okay, all for the sake of getting mommy to love me. And so I like did all of these things that I thought, oh, this is good, but I wasn't doing what I wanted. And so since I wasn't doing what I wanted, I pittered. I failed. I didn't fail, not really, but I quit. Just quit.
Mhm.
And so it's funny listening to, like, going back to high school too, like Jen was always really nice to me, but Jen, I don't think that you and I really got to hang until senior year.
No,
Maybe
we did.
after?
We hung out a little bit here and there, and I just know you were very tight with like one of our other friends, and
Yeah.
so we did, but we spent a little bit of time here and there, just like
Yeah.
occasional. But really, our friendship blossomed after college.
Like
To be
after,
like as an adult,
yeah.
like We saw
Yeah,
each other for
yeah.
some of the reunions and stuff like that too. And Lori and
Yep.
I did, which Lori and I, that was what I think one of our big reconnections was a year we did
Yeah,
the
because I
reunion
remember you
together.
talking about that. Because I
Love
remember you
that.
specifically talking about Lori and how like
Yeah.
we did. I remember talking about
Yeah.
it. Like we missed a
Yeah.
chance to hang out with Lori in high
Yeah.
school,
It was
and
so
I
good.
remember.
And no, it was so good.
I,
It was so fun. I almost wish you'd been there with us because you would
I
have loved that
know.
time too. But I get it. Like, so yeah, so
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I always looked up to Lori for the same reason. It's like, but you were, what's really funny is because I had it in me that I needed to be small and not seen.
Mhm.
And like anytime I would say anything that was funny or that was like kind of sarcastic or a little acerbic, my mom would just be like, Susan, don't be like that. You're going to hurt their feelings and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like shaped to be something that I'm really not.
But
Mhm.
that's
And
like
I
your
always,
humor. Your humor is so good too,
I
though.
always
Like
looked,
you both. Oh my God.
but I always look to like people like Lori who were that you were intelligent, you were pretty,
Mhm.
and this is all coming from my 16-year-old me. This is me saying this now 30 some odd years later. But like I remember like you were outspoken and you were so funny and you were pretty and
Mhm.
you were really nice. You were just so nice. Like I like saw you talk to everybody. You didn't like
Same.
put anybody in a box. You just like had conversations with people like they were normal human beings. And I'm just like, I remember sitting in the commons and like hearing you and yeah, like it's just not to make it like a big old like Lori Love Fest or anything, but
It is.
I very, very distinctly remember you. And I remember hearing too, like, and I remember hearing she's going to UW Madison. And I remember med school because you were going to go to med school. And like, I remember that. I remember all of that.
Oh,
And
wow.
I just remember thinking, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could be like that. And I was never really told, I guess, that I could be like that. Like, not like you, not exactly like you, but just I fell short. I just fell short in all of the things that I really wanted to pursue. And so not to like be a downer or anything like that, but it is interesting to hear about the idea of I feel like our generation, and my mom was an older mom when she had me too.
Mine was a
And I
little bit too.
feel like my pioneering, my revolutionary act is to break
Yeah, the
because
cycle.
I was always told, I just
Yeah.
had this conversation with
Yeah.
Jeffrey last night. I was always told you don't need to learn how to change the oil because you'll have a man. You don't need to learn
Right.
how to drive a stick
Right.
because you'll just drive an automatic.
Right.
Mhm.
You won't need to learn how to, you don't have to have enough, have money to buy a house because you'll have a man. I mean, that is what
Mhm.
was drilled into me. It was
Right.
never,
Yeah.
you can do this. It was
Right. You're
always,
capable.
you will do this because you'll find a man because you're pretty enough and then he'll take care of you and you won't have to worry about doing it.
Right.
So there was never that time bonding with my dad. And then like Jeffrey said last night, he's like, I had to learn all that stuff. I didn't have a choice. And I'm like, oh, boo fucking who?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have learned survival skills when it comes
Yeah.
to basic things
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
not have to worry about finding a man and rely on him to do it because
Right.
that's not how it should work. And so I'm like the first generation. Like even my brothers think that. My brothers are a little bit more revolutionary than maybe say my uncles,
Mhm.
the last generation, but they're still like a little sexist,
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know? And my one brother in Colorado too, he'll be like, hey, I have a girlfriend and you're a girl. Why don't you two hang out with each other? And no, I really don't like hanging out with
It's so
people.
funny. I'm sorry.
So I'm going to take my dog and I'm going to go upstairs to my room and I'm going to watch Christmas movies. So, Godspeed, namaste. Thanks for letting me stay at your house.
God.
But anyways, no, I'm now at this point, even now, all these years later, I'm realizing, no, I don't have to be small. I don't have to be insignificant. I don't have to appease everybody.
Mhm.
But it took a really long time to get to that point. And I do, like I said, I think that I am the first generation in my family of women to be able to break that mold and say, no, you don't have to be this way in order
Right.
to, it doesn't have to be about getting a man
Right.
or,
Right.
making people like you or not offending anybody, not making waves, not making noise. I remember telling my niece one time, I said, do not, she was like 8 or 9. And I said, do not let anyone tell you that you are nothing without a man. Do not in
Mhm.
any way,
Good
shape,
for
or form
you.
accept anybody telling you that.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually, I think she listened, because I remember she was sitting in the car. We were going somewhere, and I remember I had this conversation with my mom about something like that. And so I was telling my niece all of this, and she's like, "Okay, Aunt Sue, I promise." And it was really sweet. And I remember it was kind of this place of, I was fed up. I was just fed up with thinking that and feeling that way. But that was like over 20 years ago, and I still lived that way because it was still just so programmed and innate in me. And now I'm feeling that inner rebel come out as I sit here in my shawl. I feel like I'm 90 years old. But I feel like I am, like, part of my purpose is to break all of that familial ancestral thought process of it has to be this way because you're a woman.
Right.
So in short, that's my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You said some things that are really important to pick up on. Number one, so my grandma's best friend when I was growing up, her husband died suddenly. He was having heart surgery. He died on the operating table. And when he died, she did not know how to fill her own car with gas. She didn't know how to do anything on her own.
Yeah.
And she was totally helpless. And that happened when we were in high school, actually. And I just remember thinking, fuck that.
No,
seriously.
I am never going to allow myself to be in that position. Even though that, I got the same messages, Sue, that from my mom that you got from yours. Again, my inbox just rejected them. Though,
I know. I wish I had put a block on my inbox, Lauri. I should have been friends with you, man. You could have taught me so much, girlfriend.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I also thought all the girls in our class hated my guts because, I was like, I acted like a boy, and like
I felt like a boy on the inside half of the time. I'm not kidding. Boys are easier to get along with, to be honest with you. So I'm like, fuck yeah.
Sure. Yeah, because they just tell you when they're pissed at you.
Exactly.
They punch each other and then it's over.
And it's
right?
done.
And
exactly.
Friends again. But so I had no idea that, like, you thought of me, like, in a positive way, because I just figured everyone hated me.
Because I was scared to talk to you. I should have talked to you. See,
I know.
I should have brought you a fruit cup or some shit, and we could have been friends.
We are the fries. The fries were good.
The fries were good.
We have to make it safe for girls to, like, say that kind of stuff to each other.
But they do. And I was going to say this earlier, so I'm going to capture before I brain fart again. So sorry for, like, totally interrupting. It's so fucking rude. But here's what I'll say about our high school. Mm-hmm. One of the things we did differently that has never left me was that we did retreats.
Yes. Oh my God. I
am going to circle to that for a minute because I think that's so important, because now it was revolutionary at the time, to be honest with you, to bring a bunch of students, first of all, brave them or dumb or both. I'm not sure which, or maybe all of that, but just saying. So we would do these retreats, and you didn't do the whole class because there was too many people. So they broke them off in these little, like, nuggets. And each year, I forget, we kind of did different shit every year or whatever. But they took us out of our environment. Yeah. Like, they actually did something really fucking smart to shake shit up. And I have a favorite story from that, which is funny. I'm going to tell Lauri just because I think you know it, Sue, but it's fucking hilarious. So one of the last ones we did, it might have been senior year. I don't remember. And we were at this big facility, and you had to write a little note to all the people in your little group.
I still have my notes.
Really? I had mine. One of mine says, I'm not kidding. So I'm reading, okay, my little notes. And one just says, "You are hot."
What?
Well, I mean, that's true. I'm not acting surprised because you're not hot. I'm acting surprised because of how inappropriate that is.
So good. I'm reading all these,
It was from you, wasn't it, Lauri?
It was Lauri. Lauri was in love with me quietly in high school. No, but I'm cracking, and I know who it was. I swear to God, I know who it was, but I'm dying. I'm like reading, and then I'm like, oh my God. And actually it was fucking hilarious. Okay. Like, if you have to have a high school, I mean, I guess I'll take it, whatever. But like, what they did, though, and I know that sounds so funny, is if you've never been away, it's why I love hosting retreats. There is something so fucking powerful about being lifted out of your life
Mm-hmm.
and put somewhere else for a minute. And like they had us having like dialogue. I remember something
Right.
happened to one of the young men, one of the first years I went, and people were being shitty to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I will not say his name because I don't want to be rude, but I was pissed. I was like, are you fucking kidding? And it was interesting. I had to interview him, and it changed my entire dynamic of how I related to that kid the rest of my entire time in high school
Cool.
because I was forced to sit and have dialogue with him. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, he was a human being.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did by taking us out and letting us have these. Now, what I do wish a little bit more they did, again, this would have been revolutionary, was like having us dialogue like what we're doing right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe a little more masculine and feminine time to kind of like, okay, you guys go as a group and you guys go as a group and maybe you have like a whole day. But I really think that that was so fucking cool that we got to have those experiences. Like it
Mm-hmm.
did change shit. Like each
Yeah.
one I went to, somehow I grew, even if it was just this much. I
Mm-hmm.
was like always really impressed. And like, that's novel. Schools don't do that. Like, I was like,
No.
what the fuck? Like, we were so lucky that we got to have that kind of experience. And again, it's just a tool, right? So, as you're listening to us today, these are the kinds of things I want you to be thinking about. It's like, what can I take away and what can I do to shift my mindset? How can I get clear? How can I make deeper connection? Because women need sisterhood.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have that in my youth. I know some
No.
women are like, oh, I had
Neither.
great friends. I'm still friends with my people from the third. I'm like, are you kidding? All I had was competition. The only thing
Oh
I met
yeah.
was competition. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
had a few really great people in my life. I was very lucky. And lots of women I wish I'd been closer to, but we didn't feel confident enough to like reach each other. But like honestly, like that makes me so fucking sad, right? We need more of
Yeah.
that. We need more sisterhood. We need more,
Mm-hmm.
like less competition. Like, can we lean in and can we just support each other and elevate each other instead of competing, which is
Mm-hmm.
just the energy of that is so ass. It's like, let's be rebellious by kicking that shit to the curb and instead like supporting one another in our rise rather than being like, oh, if you rise, I can't. That's actually bullshit.
Right.
Right?
Right.
When you rise, I rise. When you go out in the world and do magical shit, Lori, you're supporting other women doing magical shit in the world, right? That's the energy of it is everybody lifts everyone.
I think one of the biggest lies that we were ever told, whether it be consciously, subconsciously, in the ether, um, whatever, however it is that we heard this or learned this, at least for me, is every woman is your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that in some way, shape, or form, even by the time we reached kindergarten, that
Mhm.
there was this innate pressure from society, from culture, from the way things have always been, that as soon as we step into a room with other female and female colleagues, counterparts, etc., that we have to prove that we are better than them. We
Mm-hmm.
have to fight for our own womanness. And that means at some point, maybe cutting theirs down or
Mm-hmm.
lessening them or whatever, because I
Mhm.
feel like that's where the bigger bullies are,
Yep.
is in the female realm. I feel like that's where there's more competition, there's more conflict. And I think that that started years ago,
Mm-hmm.
many
For sure.
millions of years ago, to try to keep us in line.
Well, we adopted a lot of masculine energy and qualities to do what we needed, right? So I think a lot in corporate America and some of those very male dominant
Yes.
areas, what sometimes women did was they traded, right? Because they
Yep.
felt like they did have to compete and not just with other women. It's not that they were always like in ill-intended, like, oh, there's this woman over here, I gotta beat her. I
Right.
think it was like, in order to carve a place for myself where I actually get some respect, I'm probably gonna have to be a badass
Yeah.
so that even the men in my office will see me eye to eye, right? So that's what's
Right.
sad to me is that then some of the femininity gets lost, the energy of that, because we're so busy trying to compete, right? And trying to get in the thick of things. And it isn't that that's always a shitty thing. Competition isn't always a bad thing either, right?
No.
It is when it intercepts us being friends and connecting, then yeah, then
Right.
that's kind of fucking broken. But otherwise, it's not always a bad thing. But I think that so many women feel like they've had to trade in some of their power that way to like, oh, I'll adopt if being a woman's not going to cut it,
Right.
I'll try being a little more masculine, right? Like, because maybe that's what I need in this environment. I've worked with wealth advisors and people in high level corporate America and right that kind of C-suite shit. Like they're trying to compete. They want to keep their name. They want to be powerful, right? And sometimes I think that can be really challenging, not because women aren't capable, but because we need good leaders to show us what that looks like without just ditching your femininity, right? Without applying like I'm a woman in a man's suit, right? No, you're not. You're still a woman as a woman. Like, but how can we harness that and not lose sight of that and still really harness that power, right? I think that's really kind of the dichotomy of what we're trying to kind of come out of, if you will. It's probably not the best way to word that, but that's what I think I'm trying to get at is that how can we continue to lift out of that space and support each other, right? Hey, Lauri, I also want to be really respectful, and I did not ask you before we got on here. When do you need to be done for real?
Oh, I've got us blocked for 2 hours, so
amen.
I'm good for 48 more minutes.
Okay. I was like, shit, I didn't even ask her. I was like, hey, we're just gonna talk all fucking day. Is that all right for you? No, no, that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. So, I also wanted to, but does anybody have any thoughts on that? I have one.
I do.
Oh, good. Because I want to circle back to ask you another question in a minute, Lauri, but then what do you want to follow up on? Please feel free and take the floor.
I think Sue is absolutely right that women are the worst bullies of other women. One of the volunteer activities I do now is I work with the Workplace Bullying Institute, trying to get legislation passed here in Wisconsin to make employers have an affirmative duty to wipe out bullying in the workplace because it's not against the law and it should be.
Right.
And so the guy who founded the Workplace Bullying Institute, he's a psychology professor by trade, and they've been doing research for the last 25 years. And so we have meetings with our citizen advocates all over the country every 2 weeks and just kind of talk about what progress we're making trying to get legislation passed in our own states. And over again, he's said that the two professions with the highest rate of bullying are nursing and teaching, which are female-dominated professions. And most of the other citizen advocates in that group are former nurses who just like have these incredible stories of being bullied. It's like, what the fuck is that all about? But I think you're absolutely right. Like, we're conditioned probably from birth to look at life as a zero-sum game where if she's succeeding, I'm losing. So I need to beat her in the competition for what? I don't know.
That's just it. Yeah, exactly. Right. You're like, what are we actually competing for here, friends? Like, I don't get it.
Competition for men? I don't get it. You know, but that's probably where it comes from.
But that's just it. You're talking old shit. I mean, Sue and I have talked about this. You're carrying your mother's DNA.
Correct.
So when you think about it, if you go back in time, we didn't have things. We were property.
Yeah, that's true.
Women were property. We couldn't even leave a husband and take our children because we were all considered property.
The children belonged to him. Not us, even though they came through us, but whatever.
Exactly. And then you talk Salem witch trials. How many men were killed during the Salem witch trials?
Okay.
0.
Just saying. So then we're like, why are we competitive? Why are we competitive?
Right.
Look at history. Because history, even though we are trust me, back in the day, friends, you worked in community to go gather food, right? It was necessary. My mom and back in the day when my mom had young kids and lots of service families, right? So like my mom's husband was in the Navy, right? So they had to fucking work together. They knew the value of being in community with their children, with meals, with errands and tasks. They had to come together. So they had a different sense of sisterhood and connection than we have not been exposed to that. Where would we learn that? Without someone telling us anything about this history and pointing it out. I was probably 45, about 40, 45 before I really put that all together. Like, it isn't rocket science, but like, we were never taught we could be a we. Ever.
Right.
We're meant to be one, but no one ever actually taught us. So there's this big fucking gaping hole in
Right.
how to be a community of women. So we don't know. We have not been trained how to not compete, how to just like, listen, if I do well, you do well, right? This is right. That's a totally different kind of vibration than, oh, but if you go well, if you do well, then I can't do well.
Yeah.
Right. That's bullshit. But that's what we see. And I have felt it. I will own that shit all the live long. Total transparency. And I hate that. But I'm just being honest, right? Like been there, done that. So, and we need to fix it. We need to do something different. So what can we do different? The three of us, let's dialogue. What are some things that we can do differently? So I have heard, be afraid, do it anyway. Be rebellious, be a cycle breaker. Be true to yourself, regardless of what society tells us. What other things can we do that's what's different? What's going to move the needle?
I mean, call it out if you see it. I don't know if that was part of your list.
Well, and I love that. No, I think calling it out's huge. I think it's because when Lauri said like true to yourself, but I also think that was like when you know yourself, then you're honoring like your values, your identity, your strengths, right? Like I think that's such a big thing. But I think calling shit out, like when I see it. So I'm reading this book called Fierce Conversations. And her name is Susan Scott. It's like sitting right there. I was like, what the fuck is that? And then we love sharing resources, by the way. We love sharing resources in here. Favorite songs, books, anything that inspires women, podcasts, anything. We love that. But I'm reading her book and she's really talking about having these really gritty dialogues. And I love her for it. And she's talking about it in corporations, of course. That's kind of where I'm going to be doing a corporate workshop. So I was reading it more from that kind of stance. But it's actually like super powerful for just us. So to me, what I also think about is, again, calling that out means having fierce conversation. When you say fierce, it doesn't mean screaming, yelling, angry, ragey. Fierce just means gritty. Fierce means just
in your power.
Yes, it just means honest. It just means using your power. It just means, can we be brave enough to lay all of our shit on the table and talk about it and not be scared and back out, right? Can we just lean all the way in? And so I love that concept so much. So to me, I'll call shit out, have fierce conversations, right? What else? What else would help us be revolutionary? How can we bring us together? What else do we need?
Well, like what Sue was doing, breaking the cycle for the next generation.
Exactly.
Telling your niece, don't let anyone tell you that you have to be attached to a man. It's interesting, Jen, that you brought up the point about women being property, because I just had that conversation with my son a few weeks ago. And I don't remember what he was asking me. And I said, well, because women were considered property until very recently. Like women could not have credit cards in their own until 1970.
You couldn't have bank accounts. You couldn't. You couldn't. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah, you could be fired for being pregnant until 1973.
Yep.
And probably very shortly that will be
and let's
again.
Let's talk about how accurate, not how accurate, but how highlighting the show Mad Men is. You want to talk about your sexual assault in the workplace? You talk to anybody who worked as a woman in any world, whether it be a man's world or a woman's world, there was sexual harassment.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was okay.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Well, little darling, that's what you get for not being in the kitchen.
Oh, literally, Lauri, you were telling a story earlier and I had to laugh because you were saying something, somebody said something to you or another woman, I forget. But I was thinking about the time that I had a gentleman I just met for the first time leaving a therapy session. I said, so would you like to reschedule? And this is what he says to me. I'll never forget. It's like one of my favorite stories because it was so fucking disrespectful. And I know he thought he goes, pretty little woman like you. Of course I'm going to come back.
Oh my God.
Pretty little woman like you. I'm like, okay, you're not
you know what? Never mind.
To look at me. You're actually supposed to come here and process your horrible shit you've been living with. Like, I was like, but Jesus Christ. But even there, right? It's funny. I had to have a good sense of humor about it because I totally know that guy, he thought he was complimenting me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Why isn't it? What? It's a compliment. Why don't you just take it as a compliment?
If you said it to him now, he'd be like, I literally just meant to compliment you. Like, but that was not the right moment. It wasn't the right. There was a million things wrong with that. And I get it. But I'm just saying, like, that shit happens, right? So what What else can we do? So levity. I'm going to say this. One of the things I was going to say, because you, Sue, and I, we have such a thing in common for our humor. I mean, like you and I, like Sue's also done stand up, like
Oh,
theater,
nice.
like she's fucking hilarious. Like, I mean, so to me, like having two of these super hilarious, I'm like, I should have made you both do like a 5 minute fucking dialogue. So what I should have done, I should have told, then you guys thought, like, I'm not showing up. But I'm like, I should have given you both 5 minutes of the floor to just like do like a little like thing because everybody would eat it up. But what I'm going to say, what do you think? So what we'll talk more about what do we need to do as revolutionaries, but what do you think, Lauri, the role of humor is to you? Because laughter is such a thing for Sue and I. And so to me,
Mhm.
because you're so naturally funny and witty and like all these things, like what role do you think that plays for you? And like how has that been a piece of your journey? Because I know it has been as much as it I think has been for me and Sue.
I think it plays multiple roles. I mean, number one, it's a defense mechanism. Um,
Can be.
when things are really bad,
Yeah.
making gallows humor, dark humor, it
Mm-hmm.
really can get you through some really, really bad shit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's also an indirect way of saying things that need to be said to people who are more powerful than you, without, getting right in their face and being like, you're a piece of shit. You know? So, like, you can say something in a humorous way that, like, draws attention to the fact that, wow, what you just said was really sexist. So, for
Yeah.
example, I was in a Zoom like diversity, equity, and inclusion training with a group of my board of directors when I was running the Portland Contractors Association and a group of tradespeople because we agreed with the union that we would go through like joint DEI training because part of our goal was to try and get more women and people of color on the
Mm-hmm.
board of our organization into the trades. So we're in a Zoom meeting like this, and we like broke into a small group, and the owner of like the biggest contractor in Portland, he said, when we were talking earlier about the fact that the people use the word aggressive to criticize women, I think about like when Lauri, when we were interviewing you for this job, like the feedback we got about you was that you were aggressive, and I'm wondering now. And then he just kind of trailed off, and I unmuted myself and I said, that was sexist. You don't need to wonder. And then like all the women in the group just started laughing, and he was like, okay, thank you. Point taken.
Oh my
So,
God.
like, so instead of me being like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. No, because that's it. To me, it's same. It's so funny that, first of all, I just love laughing. Like, to me, like humor is just a part of who I am. It's like my breath. I mean, it literally, but also it just breaks up energy. I know that's funny, but it does. Like if we're really like if something's really right, like a pressure cooker, like it's like too much heat or too much stress or
right.
too much, it's all of a sudden it's sort of like the human common denominator. Like I think
Mhm.
smiles are, I think laughter is, I think there's some shit you do in every language, right? In
Mhm.
every culture and every it's the same. And so to me, it's just like this great human common denominator. And I
Mhm.
do think it is such a powerful tool to teach people. For me, it was a coping mechanism. In my family, it's what we did. I did it in
Yeah.
my office. My clients knew it. The first day, nice to meet you. I'm Jen. These are my styles. I'm direct. I'm going to use humor. Is that all okay with you? Because I just want you to know what you're going to get. So I introduced my fucking humor. And a lot of what I think I did, and this is going to sound really funny, I think there was clients I know that came in that's when they started with me were pretty fucking serious and stoic. Now, mind you, I was a therapist, right? Like, I was expectable, okay? But
Right.
also like you've all met me, right? It was really fun to watch some of my more serious clients develop deeper humor and deeper
Mhm.
humor for themselves. Because where this shows up, I think, particularly in being revolutionary, is being able to laugh at yourself and not in a mean spirited way
Oh yeah.
to
Hmm.
be able to just write like I'm fucking hilarious. I made this goofy mistake, or I did this stupid ass thing, or I said this weird thing. But like, you just go, okay, oh well, right? Like finding a way to like be less serious for yourself, I just think gives you like more capacity to risk take and be silly and playful or take run at something that is, I imagine, could be scary, like doing comedy in front of other people, right? Like if I'm a little scared, I'm going to do it anyway. That's kind of revolutionary, of course, but like really thinking about how does humor show up. And I know Sue and I like obviously have talked about this a lot. It's one of the reasons that we love doing the podcast together is we both have so much fun laughing together. Like that's kind of our jam. But I just think it's really kind of a cool tool that I don't know if people think about it that way. Like that's why I was like, let's call this out as almost a tool rather than just it being like a characteristic or a trait. It's a tool that you can actually use, right, to kind of harness your energy as well and shake shit up. You're thinking about a really tense meeting. And I don't say do the tension to just break it because we don't want to be in uncomfortable feelings, because I think sometimes fierce conversations are going to be uncomfortable. But I also think there's a moment where if we can insert that humor, it shakes it up just enough for us to kind of go, okay, restart, right? Let's lean back in. Let's have a fresh start. Let's look at this in a different way. So I just think humor is such a gigantic tool for all of us. So I hope you're all using it.
I use it as a tool in negotiation all the time. Like,
so smart.
I mean, there's nothing more tense than negotiating a labor agreement or like a big, I negotiated some really, really big agreements of other kinds when I was practicing law. And those meetings get really tense because almost all the time I'm across the table from all men. You know, like, I'm often the only woman in the room. And most men have been trained that the way you negotiate is to take an extreme position and just dig in your heels and be a total dick about it. And like never back down because that shows weakness. And so, like I'll just have to break the tension every once in a while to get people like acting like human beings.
Yes.
Relating to me like I'm another person, and not just like the representative of the opposite point of view. Because I don't negotiate that way. That is a bullshit way of negotiating,
Yes, it is.
I use facts and logic and reason and like try to expand the pie and like get a win for everybody involved. Because you get more successful outcomes that way. There's a lot of research by Harvard professors who for decades have been telling people that position-based bargaining is ineffective and it's a lose-lose scenario for everyone. But that's still the way the vast majority of people still negotiate.
Right.
So, like you just need to break the tension sometimes and humanize the discussion. Like, hey, it's me. Like we work together every day.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be intense. And that's just it too. Like the idea of like, so you're thinking that the more you bark, the more you're going to get your way. And I just don't really feel like human beings respond to that in a way that's effective and that benefits everybody involved in the process. It just makes you look like you're the aggressive dog. And now we're just sick of fighting with you. So that's kind of, you get your way, but not really in the most effective way.
That's what's sad to me is I think you're coming at a place where it's like someone's going to win.
Yeah.
I think that's our problem in any business, if I'm being honest. And like, I know that this is certainly something I'm going to be talking about with my corporate people. It's like, there doesn't have to be a winner. And as soon as we step into the ring that way, you've already lost the battle.
Yeah.
Because then you lean into behaviors like what Lauri's talking about too, is like we dig our heels in and like, nope, I'm going to be the bigger, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, friends, that's not the way it works best. Like, let's figure out a way that everybody can actually, if we take winning off the table, what's the best solution for everybody? Let's just put all the ideas on the table and not decide that one is right. That's a different way of approaching those kinds of environments. And I wish we did more of that, because then I think we would have, like you said, more successful dialogue, right? Like you're more successful and everybody walks away feeling better than like bitching and being rude to each other, and you leave and you're kind of depleted and you're exhausted because you feel like you were doing rounds in a ring with people.
And where did you get?
Yeah, exactly. What do you get out of that? Like you're not probably getting anything good.
Did you see it was viral for a week or so where there was, I can't remember what branch of government it was, but there was a transgender who, and I'm not getting into politics, I promise,
Yeah.
but there is a point. So there was a transgender in a session. It was in an official session. Of course, it was being
Yeah.
recorded. And when the older gentleman was introducing this transgender, he misgendered her.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but here's what happened. When this person was introduced, she said, "Thank you, madam spokesperson," or whatever. So she misgendered him back on purpose.
That's awesome.
Okay. It was beautiful. Now, here's what happened though. But here's what happened. So she did this. That was her response. It was classy. It was poignant. It was professional, but it got the point across that she referred to him as madam, because that's going to tip him, like that's going to get his attention. A cis male stood up on her behalf and started barking at this other guy saying, "How dare you? You will address her the right way, blah, blah, blah." And everybody's praising this guy for getting up and standing up for her. But I'm like, you guys, she had it. She had it.
Yeah.
He should have just let her have it, because then the original speaker who introduced her wrong, he called an end to the session. This session is now over. And he hit his gavel and they disband. This guy completely walked all over her response, which was perfect.
Right.
So it's like,
we didn't need help. We didn't need help.
Thank you for your defense, but I had it. At least that's, I mean, I'm putting words in her mouth, but her response was just so perfect. And then he ruined it. And I think that we were talking about like, what is a revolution? What is a revolutionary? And then bringing male counterparts into the cause as well.
Absolutely.
But that's tricky, because how do we invite them to be part of this without making them think that they're or feel like they have to be in control, or that they have to do the barking for us? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense, and
because I think this guy was really trying to do the right thing.
He was trying to be supportive. I mean,
he slammed the punchline right into the ground.
Unfortunately, what he did was he went into savior mode, and she didn't need it. And so to me, right, in that scenario, one way to approach that is after that's over. Again, just because I love using real world shit, because it's easier to kind of lean in, right? And maybe they get together and they have a dialogue, and she says, "Hey, thanks for trying to stick up for me. You know what? I really felt like I had it. Thank you, because I saw where your heart was, and I appreciated that. My voice was there. I had
enough.
It was enough." And I think sometimes that's a fierce conversation, because that's uncomfortable to us a little bit, right? Like, ooh, what if this person gets pissed? What if this person doesn't get it? Like, so then we're like, oh, I'll just be quiet. No. Right. So to me, that's one way, is to it directly related to a scenario, is to go in and have dialogue with someone. But the other thing I think that we really want to be doing is be brave enough to, when situations happen, oh my God, where was I going to take you guys? Because bring men in. So the other thing that I like doing when you're talking about how do we bring men in without being, disrespect, right? We don't want to be disrespectful. We don't want to bring them in from a place of criticism and shittiness. Does that make right? Yeah. To me, my goal is
100%.
I want men on my side that are on my side for the right reasons for themselves. Yeah. It's not about me, right? So to me, one of the things that I think we have accessible to us all the time, honestly, is dialogue, which I know just sounds like, I know it sounds so unsexy, but to be truthful, when I have had really heavy, fierce conversations with people that I really care about, if it's a masculine, feminine thing, and I'm explaining things, even Zach has been in some of those positions with me, I'm really frank. And I will talk about how it affects me. And I talk about, right, open that dialogue up. So I'm being vulnerable And I think that that's really key too, is that when we're vulnerable and we're being brave, I think someone picks that up. Like my energy is like, okay, I'm going to open myself up for this and I'm going to share this piece with you. Please be like kind, right? Like just receive gently and like sit with this. But that's how I think we do. I think we have to educate people. And I think there are also, poor Christian is like my poster man for being like the most loving masculine energy of all time, other than like my own husband, Jeffrey. Like we have a really great friend from high school. His name is Christian. And like Christian is just so open to women's energy and like such a proponent of our power, and like it does not affect him. Like you, when you're with him and his energy, and like he's like got tats and he's like into superheroes and he was in a band, he's like so badass. He's like a badass soul, super fucking smart of course as well, but like just saying, like his energy is so pro woman without detracting anything from his masculinity. Do you guys get what I'm, does that make sense when I say
Totally.
that? So that
Yeah.
to me is the ultimate goal, is being in that kind of symbiotic relationship with men where it's like, oh, I see your power and I love that. And like you can stand on your own 2 feet. You don't need me. But when we're together and when we can work together as a team, whether professionally, personally, whatever, friends, doesn't matter, that's so awesome. And so to me, that's what we're looking for, is people that can lean into that discomfort and have those gritty dialogues with us, really understand what our experience is like and what we want to achieve. And I do think there are a ton of men out there that will do this. And I think women need to hear it the same way. This is also not just men. I think women need to hear us when we're vulnerable with other women. And then, right, we start, the barriers go down. It's the more that we talk and we're brave about our experiences, the more the barriers go down. And all of a sudden now I can be more in sisterhood, right? Because I've been brave, I've been vulnerable, and now someone can see into my world. They're not like locked out. Like I've like said, okay, you can peer over my fence and look in here with me. That's huge. So, I mean, other thoughts for either one of you on how we can kind of help men come in? Those are kind of mine.
I mean, so over the last 3 years, I've trained thousands of people on respectful workplaces and shutting down harassment and being an active bystander and self-advocacy. And I would say 98% of the men in my trainings want to be allies, and they just don't know how.
Exactly.
They don't know where to start.
Exactly. And that's, go ahead. Nope. Go.
And it's really beautiful because sometimes there will be 1 or 2% of the people in the room who just push back and they're like, this is a bunch of bullshit and blah, 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 blah. And other men will then speak up, like I won't even have to be the one who's like, well, have you thought about this perspective? Other men will be like, well, actually this, and so I think just like starting the conversation, I think, and also coming at it from the angle that you two are coming at this podcast from, which is, this is not about bashing men.
No.
None of us hate men. We all love men.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like just making the atmosphere comfortable for them to like hear the experiences that other people have.
Exactly.
And tapping into their empathy about it.
Yes.
So, one of the things I use a lot of humor in my training sessions.
Of course.
But I also like to start the conversation by asking people to go around the room and tell me who their role model is and why.
Right.
Because that immediately starts getting them tapping into their own empathy, because it
softens.
Right. And most of them say my dad, and then they explain why. My dad taught me the value of hard work, the value of respect. And, the minute they start thinking about, oh yeah, my dad taught me to respect other people. Sometimes they will say my mom, which is freaking amazing when they say that.
Love that.
Sometimes they will, like, a lot of times they'll say, it was my first foreman or my first journeyman. Sometimes they'll list a woman, though, that they worked with or worked for. Wow. One time somebody said Taylor Swift. Actually, it was a man who said Taylor Swift, and that was awesome.
He was a Swiftie. I love it.
Nice.
It's like, I love that, because you're awesome. Like, in a room of 200 people, you're like willing to say that in front of a bunch of crusty old construction guys. You admire her because she's a freaking badass who's like made billions of dollars.
Exactly.
So, I mean, just like, just saying out loud, we're not here to like talk about to accuse men of being awful
Right,
people,
right,
because
right.
that's not what it's about. Like we've all been conditioned to see men and women a
Exactly.
certain
Correct.
way, and
Exactly.
that those stereotypes are just as limiting for men as they are for women.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Um, and so it's just getting the dialogue going about like how hard it is to be a man, because the expectation is you're never going to cry and you're never going to talk about you having a challenge or having hurt feelings or whatever. And that leads to a suicide epidemic in construction, quite frankly.
Hmm.
Suicide has the second highest rate of construction of any industry. And a big part of that is that we don't make it safe for people to talk about the fact that they're having mental health struggles because of the stereotype that men have to be strong and tough
Hmm.
and silent.
Hmm.
Um,
My brother just reached out to me about that maybe a couple months ago
oh, really?
because he worked construction for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And his and I won't go too far into it because it's not his story, but his initial question to me was, do you know if you can experience PTSD through work if it's not military?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
I reached out, Jen, I know that you guys exchanged numbers a couple weeks ago, Jen, when we were with him.
Hmm.
Um, and that is a big thing for him too. And I know, and again, I know I'm mom bashing here, but I don't care. Um, my mom got in my brother's faces, both of them. They both have stories of when they were crying, and she was, "Oh, you're going to be a little baby, you
Oh my
crying like a
God.
little girl." And that's what
Ah.
they grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're both emotional men. They're both incredibly emotional men, but
Mm-hmm.
they show it more so through frustration and
Mm-hmm.
anger,
Yes.
not as much as vulnerability or
Hmm.
sadness or
Hmm.
grief.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out in a masculine way, I say in air quotes,
Yeah, I get
because
that.
that's what they were kind of beaten into being. And
Right.
so that was a big thing for him all these years later to just be like, it scared me. Construction scared me. I was afraid for my life, but he had no one to talk to about it.
And
Mm-hmm.
listen to the sweetness of your brother. So, because I don't want to call this out, but I think this is so sweet. So, Sue's brother had a recent loss, and I sent him a text. The reason I asked for his number one is because I didn't want it to go another 27 years before I fucking talked to him. 'Cause I
Right.
adore him, which is so dumb. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? He's like, I
I
don't
know. I
know. I'm
hadn't seen him for
like,
4 years. What
right.
was that?
I
Yeah.
know, right? So stupid. So we're not going to do that again. But also
Right.
I wanted to send him a message on the weekend when I knew he was going to be doing the service and stuff like that. So I sent him a really, short and sweet message. And I just, at the end I said, love you. And he wrote back, and yeah, today's the service and love you too.
Yeah.
And
He means that.
and I know he does. And the reason I say that was I think that was easy for him. And that's a
Yeah.
sign of his soul to me. Does that the reason I'm sharing that here, which is kind of weird, is
Yeah.
I'm saying it because that's how sweet he is on the inside.
Right.
That was so natural for him to say that back to me, and I
Yeah.
didn't expect it. I when I say it, I give it freely because I understand
Right.
everyone's different in that. But like, I want to know I was thinking about him. I want him to know he feels very brotherly to me. Like, no, you're important. Like, I need you to know that about how I feel. Right? I'm very big fan of making sure people know how we feel about them, etc. But I
Right.
was so touched by his instant
Mm-hmm.
response and love you too. And that to
Mm-hmm.
me, like that's where his heart is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I think, when we open the door to it, people will walk fucking through it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If we're brave enough to open the door for vulnerability, I am telling you, I swear to God, 95% of the time, someone is just waiting to be invited
Yep.
and they will walk in, man or woman.
Yep.
I have done events where I'm shocked by how much women share. I have done it. We hosted women's
Yeah.
events where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, no one's going to talk about this shit. Everyone's crying. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is
Yeah.
amazing. How did we get here? Because they were invited.
Right.
Right.
We just need to be seen for 5 minutes and someone to say to us, can you tell us about how you experienced this? That's it.
Right. I've done events where I've been shocked by how much men share,
Love that.
about not only about, men who have been bullied, but
Yeah.
men who say, you know what, I was a bully and
And
I
that's huge.
wish I could go back and to my younger self and
Yes.
tell myself not to do that. But
Yeah.
that's how I was indoctrinated into this culture. There's
Yeah.
a strong culture of hazing in construction.
Yeah.
I was hazed, and that's
Yes.
how I
Yep. I got
trained,
through it.
Yep.
I fucked up. It
exactly.
made me a man,
Right.
but did it
And
though?
yeah, and you're so right, Sue. Like the only safe emotions for men to express are anger and lust, and that's
Mhm.
Exactly.
so limiting,
So
like
a little limiting.
yeah,
Exactly.
because
And
they
because
have
they're
the
boys, I'm going to
same
say it. Hanger is a very big emotion for them too.
they have the same range of emotions we
Right.
do.
Of
They've
course
just
they do.
been beaten into not expressing
Exactly.
them, which is so tragic.
It
It
It's
is
so
is.
tragic.
tragic. And I
It
think
is.
we'd all be better off if we were just allowed to like express the full complement of emotions.
Yeah.
I think for me today, as I'm listening, because I was really on the fence on what I want to call you all into action around, right? Because I always love to encourage you to like take some action. I think this would be the thing. Initially, I was going to say find something that's kind of scary and do it anyway, because I love that's just a good practice for all of us, right? Something, and again, if you want to do it, please do it. We'd love to hear from you about what your experience was. But I also think, what if instead I invite you all to invite someone into a dialogue? And again, male or female, I don't even want to say just men because I don't think I don't want to limit it. I want you to just have the practice of having some of those kind of dialogues. Could you lean into a spot right now in your heart that you know is a little tough? It doesn't have to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Please don't pick that to be the first thing, but pick something that you're like, I really need to have a conversation about this with this person. I recently did this last week. It was really tough. It was something political. Um, and I was terrified. I'm not going to lie, I was terrified because I knew this person had already had some wingdings with some people in their life about politics. I was like, oh God, I was like sweating bullets. I was like, okay. But hey, this is like something that really hurt me. And we had, when I tell you, one of the most singularly beautiful dialogues I've ever had in my actual existence. I mean that because there was no negativity attached to this. It was the most singularly, this is how I'm experiencing this. I hear you, I see you, I feel you. I will take that into account. I'm going to shift some things because I can do that. That's really easy for me and I had no idea that you felt that way. Done. Done.
Nice.
It was the most brilliant, lovely. I was scared shitless doing it. I never lie about that because people look at me and are like, oh, you were a therapist for 30 fucking years. You must be. Oh, yeah, I just love it because there's nothing more fun than people being pissed off at you. Like, no, fucking therapists don't like it any better, assholes. We just do it because we fucking know how to. That's the only thing, okay? So, like, I still freak out when I have to have hard, scary fucking conversations, but also I do make myself have them. And so I want to invite you again. Does it have to be the biggest? That was really prudent to me in this relationship because this is somebody I really care about. And so that was hard. It was hard. It was awful, but I'm so glad I did it because it really did. It actually created a deeper connection with this person.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I was scared of, right? This is the shit we find all the time. The shit we're scared of leaning into is like, ooh, that's vulnerable and that's scary and that. But all of a sudden, somehow, also, that's the fucking venue to get to deeper intimacy with people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Deeper
Yep.
connection comes from that vulnerability. So I want to invite you all, as you're listening to this, find an area of vulnerability. And whether that's that you know another woman you really like and you never said, you know what? I don't know if anybody's ever said this to you. This is your magic. This is how I see you. I
Mhm.
love that Lauri learned something in this podcast about Sue and I and how we saw her and how she was having a totally different experience. So whether it's being brave and telling another woman or another person that you like, hey, you know what? I really enjoy you and I see your magic in these ways and like this is so potent how you show up in the world, or I admire this so much, or something's been kind of hanging on my heart a little bit and it's just like a dialogue I was too scared to have with you. Can I just talk you through how I'm experiencing that right now? Like, I want all of us to be brave. I want us to like practice a little vulnerability. I want to practice leaning in, and I want you to see how people show up.
Yeah.
I just think people will show up more than you think that they will. Like, that has been my fucking experience. I'm not lying to you, and I'm not saying this because I'm a therapist or, right, that's my background. I guarantee you, I promise you, when I have been brave, I can't think of a time for the most part in my entire, I can't think of one where somebody did not show up and meet me in the middle. It might not have been the most satisfying, awesome, winning conversation, or I maybe didn't get the outcome I wanted, but that person met me in the middle. So I really think we're capable of more than this than we trust. So could we
Mhm.
practice trusting each other a little bit more and lean into that and see what happens? Because I do think that magical things can happen. We're vulnerable. We really lean in with trust
Mhm.
and open mindedness. And you show up with an open heart. When you show up with an open heart, someone knows that. They feel that.
Yeah.
And so to me, those are some things that I would invite you to be trying on in terms of action, which they're kind of hardy. I'm not going to lie. I was like, ooh, that's kind of they're toughies. But I also know that everyone who's listening is capable of that. So and I would love to hear about it, right? This is part of what we love to do is have guests and have dialogue and then have you come back and say, hey, I tried that on and this is what happened. And if you get stuck, come back and let us know. Where did you get stuck? Let us support you figuring out how to get unstuck, right? So last thing, Lauri, do you have any favorite resources? Is there any like, do you have like, what's your game song? Like, do you have any like fun things that you want to throw in the mix? Because we always love doing that. Like we have a Spotify playlist for our podcast, but we also love resources. So is there anything that really just like resonates for you that we can give our listeners to kind of dial in some area of their lives?
Oh my goodness. Oh, so many that I can't even um
You put her on the spot. She's like, "Ah, there's so many.
yeah.
I didn't even have a moment to think about that, Jen. Thank you.
Yeah. There are
Welcome
a
to
lot
doing a
of
podcast with Jen, Lauri. I'm just saying.
there's a really good book that came out maybe about 10 years ago. It's called Unfinished Business.
Ooh, what's
Um,
that?
it's by Anne Marie Slaughter, she was she worked for Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton was in the cabinet.
Okay.
And it was a lot about what we've been talking about today, which is how um gender stereotypes are limiting for both men and women.
Yeah.
And it was kind of her like it started as an article, like I think in the Atlantic, and it got such a response that she expanded it into a full length book. And it was basically about how the women's movement had gotten us so far, but not all the way to where we needed to be. And so she talked a lot about how she had her dream job, but her son was in middle school and was having a challenging time. And so she took a step back from this dream job to be present for her kid and how tough that was. And how she's seen, you know, those trade offs that people make. Um, but she talks a lot about how men aren't really allowed to do that, right? Like there's an expectation that, yep, your family is your wife's responsibility. So I
Mhm.
really like it because it's a really well-rounded way of
Love.
looking at
Okay.
how these gender roles don't serve anybody very
Yeah,
well.
love.
And
I
that,
love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. And what about, do you have a good song? Is there a good like woman like fire up or it doesn't have to be woman. Do you have a favorite fire up song? Because we're gonna put it in our fucking playlist for you.
oh man. Um, that's a really good question. It really depends on my mood,
Of
like,
course. You can give me more than one. I'm not like, don't rein it in. Like you can share whatever you like.
okay. So like when I'm really, really down,
Yeah.
um, you need to look this up on YouTube. There is, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like 1990, early 90s.
Okay.
And it was at the American Music Awards. Whitney Houston sang this 10-minute medley of three just incredibly powerful songs that were basically about being a strong woman.
Oh
And
my God, that's awesome.
it's the most incredible thing you'll ever see. Like like she was an incredible live performer.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like you don't even really get a sense of how amazing she was just from listening to the records she put
Hmm.
out because she wasn't able to like explore the space,
Yeah,
just to
right.
steal a line from the cowbell sketch. Um, so um, I'll find the medley and I'll send it to you
Okay.
because like I was really down last week because of just shit that's going on in the world. And I put it on while I was doing the dishes and I felt so much better afterward because it's just, she's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
she was just an incredible performer and like
Absolutely.
very athletic too. Like she's drenched in sweat
Oh,
by the end of it. And
that's
Oh
it's
like
yeah.
pink. If you, I saw pink and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, was she the same way?
Jesus Christ. I mean, the
yeah,
artistry of it
yeah,
is
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah. It's just so epic.
yeah. So I'll send it to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and she got two standing ovations because they didn't realize the medley wasn't over. So they start standing up and cheering, and she's only halfway through. It's
Oh my God.
crazy.
That is the
That's
coolest.
Yeah,
awesome.
so that's pretty
Okay.
amazing.
Well, we'll see if we can share it one way or the other. Maybe we might have to put a link
Mhm.
in our show notes. And then last thing, Lori, before we close, I know you're good on time here. How can people reach you if anybody has questions and they want to ask you anything or follow up, or maybe they have reason to utilize your service? How would it best be somebody could find you if they wanted to connect with you later?
It's easy to find me through my misspelled name because my name is not spelled like it sounds. But I have a website. It's laurirollings.com and spelled Lauri with no E, Lauri Rollings.com. I'll send it to you in the show notes.
Perfect.
And my email address is very similar. I'll send that
Perfect.
all to you for your
That'd
show
be
notes.
great. If you get us your
Great.
stuff, we'll tuck it right into show notes, and then that can be right there in case anybody does want to connect with you again.
I appreciate
Um,
that.
so I just want to say thank you so much, Lori. It was such a joy to have you here today. I knew it would be, and I am so grateful for your time and energy and the input. And honestly, want to thank you for being a revolutionary woman. That this is really what we need is more dialogues like this, and we need more really brave, vulnerable women to go out in the world and create things when they see the need. And so thanks so much for doing that and for holding space for other women to like rise them up, right? Like that is such a beautiful thing you're doing in the world. And so thank you so much for doing that. And thank you so much for your time here today. We sure did appreciate it and love you so much. And just so much gratitude. So thank you for doing this with us today.
Thank you for having me as a guest. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And I just really appreciate getting to know both of you a little bit better.
A little
Same.
different, a little deeper, huh? It's pretty
Yep.
Yeah.
pretty fun stuff as adults after knowing each other
Yep.
this long. It's pretty
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah, I love you girls.
Love
Thank
you
you so much
too.
for everything.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you.
Thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Circle back, stay tight with us. We always are so grateful for your following along with the show. Please feel free to ask questions and dialogue with us. We love to hear your takeaways, suggestions, things that you want to add in for other women to know as well. So always feel free to throw that out there. But we will definitely be around for the next time. So we'll see you then and take care, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you.